Welcome back to Meg's Mysteries. This story is called When Worlds Collide, Chapter 2 of Hidden Magic. My world was a magical and wondrous place. I was content with just my family and friends and all of the animals of nature. Nature has a way of making everything beautiful. I had two best friends, Nada and Eric. Eric was an elf, also the prince of the elves. He was more than a friend. We were getting very close, which was a good thing. My family approved. He was a prince and I was a princess. So it was naturally a good match for us. His family also welcomed our union if we ever decide to wed in the future. These were also dark times. The mortals were invading our world. We must keep a close watch. They began hunting in our realm. Our special safe place had become a battlefield. We all try to protect it as much as we can. We alert our animal friends when danger is near and hide them among the trees and caves. Our fish and water animals are helped by the naiads, who are the spring nymphs. Nada is one of them. But many times we fall and our things get killed and taken away from us. We can't protect all our wonderful creatures. We mourn the loss of all who died from the mortal greed. I know they need something to sustain their life, but many just kill now for just a sport of it. Never acknowledge that we are living creatures too, that they kill. They give no respect or thanks for taking their lives. They just keep destroying. One horrible afternoon, this happened so close to home. My amazing friend of many years was brutally taken from us. My beloved mother wolf. She was with her new litter of cubs. She was just getting quite old, but still young enough to have another brood of cubs. They were by the spring, our favorite place. She loved to come and let her cubs play along the water as she sat on the rocks, getting the rays of the sun. Then she smelled them and saw them, the intruders, hunters with bows and swords. She hurried and hid the cubs, telling them to stay out of sight. Then she ran far away from the cubs. They caught sight of her and started to hunt her down. Nada saw this, but couldn't help, so she stayed with the cubs to keep them safe. Mother Wolf looked back from the high rocks to see Nada. Her eyes were sad, and after she was saying goodbye and thank you for helping save her cubs. Then the arrows flew and she went down. The hunters yelled, "We got her," and then they dragged her away. By the time I found out, there was nothing but blood on the rocks. I cried out, and the whole forest could hear my cries. I was so angry, hurt, and other feelings came out of this sorrow. I wanted revenge for my friend. We took care of the cubs and mourned our great loss. I told my father and mother. They were as angry as I was. My father said, "Sadly, this is the world now. They know nothing about us, and we must keep our realm secret. We must do what we can to protect our friends and family. We must protect nature at all cost." So we hide whenever humans invade our land. Also, we do mischievous things like throwing stones and sticks down at them, spooking their horses, moving around their camp supplies if they left anything around. We just took it. Some of us could make wind and rain come down on them so they couldn't continue their hunt. When we scared their horses, we really didn't scare them. We just told the horses, who were on our side, to act that way, spook when they enter the forest. We tried everything, but they still kept coming back. A couple weeks after Mother Wolf was murdered and taken away, one of our friends, the Golden Hawk, came to relay a horrible message. She had followed the hunters when they dragged Mother Wolf away, 4 deers and some rabbits away. She saw what they did. They took them out of the forest into an open area. Then they went to a small village outside the large castle kingdom. That's where the villagers lived. Most of the hunters went inside the castle walls, but some took the dead animals to a hut in the village. The hawk stayed high in a tree and spied, and looked inside the hut. She was horrified at what she saw. Many dead animals on the table, parts of them on the wall. They were displayed like they were real. They just stared out with their glass eyes. Sorrow took over the hawk, but she still watched as the humans worked on the mother wolf and the others. This was too much for her to take, so she let out a cry and flew off. How can they be so cruel? I understand they need food. We all hunt things for food, but we never waste a life. We're always thankful for the lives we take. We thank them for giving us sustenance. That's what nature's way is, but these humans just take our lives for their pleasure and sport. We're nothing to them but trophies for them to display and brag how they killed us. She flew for many days back to us, back to the forest, and told us all what she saw. Our grief was so deep, my father the king made us promise never to venture out. Also, watch out for any humans. We must hide and help our animal friends and plants. They were also cutting down our precious trees for their fire pits, making their buildings and walls. They removed our rocks and stones and took our water from the springs. We wouldn't care if they did it in a way that still preserved all and only take what they needed, but they waste and destroy everything without any care. I think I was the saddest, but I knew we all felt the same sadness. We wanted nothing to do with these mortal beings. Our king demanded we never help or show ourselves to them. That is why you'll never see us or any magical being, but we're still here. We'll never leave. Months later, I was with Nada, and we were still met by a spring. We were playing with the wolf cubs and watching over them. They're getting so big. We did the best we could, but they still missed their mother wolf, as we did. I thought of how brave she was to leave the hunters away from her babies. It was still so painful, even after all. We did save a human child. Prince Frederick must know of what his people did and still do. How can he let them invade us like that? I thought of how brave she was to leave the hunters away. I am so sad that she's gone. I thought of how kind he was as a child. Even the last time we saw each other, he was loving and caring. Now I wonder if he changed into the humans just like the others, with no care at all for us. He must know that Mother Wolf is there on the trophy wall. We learned that in the hunting party that killed Mother Wolf and the others, the king himself was part of it. They hung the trophies in the castle on the wall just to display their hunt. Our friends, the birds, saw this themselves. They are our little spies. They get close, but no one notices them. They peer into the windows and also go inside the castle. Then they report back to us and warn us of any plans to invade us. It was our way. We took nothing for granted. Never trust a human. That afternoon, I got a feeling something wasn't right, like I had something important to do. A nagging feeling that someone was calling me. Then a message came from the breeze of the tree. I need your help, please come. Who could that be? So I tried to ignore it, but it came louder and louder. I stared off into the water in the spring and saw a familiar face. Prince Frederick looked out towards the forest from his castle window, calling for me to come to him. But how can I? We were ordered from the king, my father, never to venture out of our realm. How can I disobey him? But how can I not help the prince? He seemed to be so distressed, pleading with me for help. I told Nada, but she told me not to go. Stay here and do what we do to protect our own. Do not trust humans. Even though she knew the prince before, she never trusted him. He's only human after all, not immortal like us. He'll always choose his own kind, she said. I thought long and hard about what she said, but in my heart I knew I must go to him. I didn't tell anyone where I was going or planning to do. So I got some fairy dust from my friend Lila. She's a fairy. It can make you small as you want and then bring you back with another sprinkle. I told her I'm going to play a trick on my sisters. I couldn't tell her the truth. I asked my friend the hawk to fly me to the castle and not tell anyone. She didn't want to do it, but she did at the end, only if she could stay close in case I needed her. So in the dead of night we took flight, a long way from home. High up into the sky we flew, to the unknown. I only know the prince was there and he would protect me from harm. He needed my help. I sent a message with the hawk for him to meet me in the garden. I didn't want anyone to see me, so the hawk dropped the note by him and flew away. He almost didn't see it, but then he picked it up before he went inside. We met in the garden. I was my normal size again. I had used the fairy dust and wore a long cloak to hide my blue color and face. It would have looked funny to anyone to see him talking to a blue, pointy-eared creature that was not human. He was so glad to see me, but I kept my distance. I didn't trust or know him anymore, especially of what happened to Mother Wolf, and the warning Nada gave me. He'll always choose his own kind. But as soon as he spoke, I knew he was the same. He had the sadness in his eyes and told me why he called for me. His mother, the queen, was gravely ill. No matter what the doctors did, she was getting worse. The king was beside himself. He loved her more than anything. They couldn't lose her. So could I possibly help? He remembered about my tears healing his cut and my other powers and knowledge of all natural healings. I said, I'll try, but I don't want anyone to see me or know I helped. He agreed, but he did tell me that when he was little and I saved him, that he told his mother about his adventure. She was the only one he trusted. I was angry that he promised not to tell anyone, but I understood how a mother's love is and the trust that came with it. He said she didn't believe him and said it was his vivid imagination, so he let it go, never mentioned it again to a soul. I said, what will you tell her now? She'll see me and she'll ask questions. He said, she'll keep your secret. I trust her with my life. So I followed him in the shadows to her room. The guards were gone for a while. The prince sent him away so he could stay with his mother. So I slipped in and up to her bed. She was so beautiful, sleeping, but I knew she was very ill. He said, how are you going to make yourself cry? I told him about Mother Wolf and how the hunters killed her and the other animals. That will make me cry. It makes me cry every time I think of her murder. I asked him why didn't he recognize her. She's now in his trophy room, in his own castle game room. He said, I said it with such a bitter tone he backed away. Then he said, I never go there. I never knew about the hunt. So I started to cry, and I caught the tears and put them on the queen's lips. She began to wake. A glow surrounded her, and she started to look better. I put some more tears in a water cup and had the prince give it to her. Then I backed myself away into the shadows, but she saw me. We had to show her and tell her who I was and what had happened. She was surprised, but very grateful. She promised to keep my secret. The prince told her how we met and that we did fall in love. She said she was so sorry, but it could never happen. You know you are to marry the Princess Lilith of Brookdale. I knew nothing of this, but knew he had to marry someone. He would be king someday and must have a mortal queen. It hurt, but we knew it was our fate. I would probably marry my own other best friend, Eric. He was the elfin prince himself, and I was the princess of the nymphs. We always marry elves or satyrs or any mystical creatures, but never a mortal could marry a mystical creature. Frederick left to get the king, and I said my last goodbyes and wished them all well. I had to return to my own world, my own kind, and also had a duty to help and protect my family and friends. I also had to go before the king or anyone else missed me. But little did I know, We were not alone. Someone was spying on everything we did. A figure lurked in the corner of the hallway, eavesdropping on all we said and did. I hope you like this chapter. Come back for the next time on Meg's Mysteries, more of hidden magic and the Blue Nymph. Until next time, have a good evening.